Hey guys, it's Boy, and today we're going to be talking about the Batman villain known as Mr. Camera. And why am I going over this character, I'm sure you're wondering? Well, you see, after I did my Polka Dot Man video, I saw him in the background of the bar. So I said, you know what, let's just cover this character, he's wacky, and not many people know about him, so let's do it. He first appeared in Batman 181 in a side story called The Boy Wonder Confesses. And the way this story started off was Dick Grayson's out of school, and this is when he was Robin, a lot younger. All of a sudden, he just gets up in front of the class and just kind of announces, like, hey, everybody, my name is Dick Grayson, and I'm Robin, the Boy Wonder. And everybody's like, what? No way. Like, there's no way you could be that. And he rips off his shirt and reveals the Robin costume, jumps out the window to go help with a car crash that happened. You know, just like this car crash happened, I guess, in front of the school. And Dick Grayson suited up as Robin. He jumps out and swings on one of the, I guess, those, flagpoles that stick out of the building and goes to help with the crash site, which, so everybody is, like, shocked. And let's be honest, something's not right. So we flash back a couple weeks earlier, and what we learn is there had been this guy by the name of Mr. Camera who would use flashes and stuff to blind people and rob them. Well, Batman and Robin, they were hot on this guy's trail, and they went after him. And, he was an okay villain, but this is the 60s, so the villain was weird. And one of the times is when he stole a 3D camera at, like, this premiere of a movie, so Batman and Robin, they jumped into action and they chased after him. Well, they can't really find him at first, like, they don't know where exactly he's at, but then they see him run off into a car, and they follow him back to his base. And in his base is this giant camera, and they get into a tussle or a fight, as you want to call it, and Batman fights Mr. Camera, and Robin fights the goons, and Batman is able to get the upper hand on Mr. Camera, and he ends up being able to knock him out. But before he arrests him, Mr. Camera reveals, Mike, I have cameras all over the city, and one of them was in the alley where you and Robin probably changed into your costume. And Robin kind of goes, oh, crap, and Mr. Camera's like, oh, so we do have your identity then. And he threatens to release that identity on the news to everyone. So, pretty much, Batman and Robin have to come up with a plan. And their plan had to do with having Batman and Robin be at the same place as Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne. Now, this plan is a plan they've used multiple times, but however, this plan was actually kind of a waste of time because they then find out after the footage was released to the news that it was all a hoax, and that the footage didn't even show them changing in their costumes. Mr. Camera would not return until 2008 in the Batman Brave and the Bold comic book series, which would follow the TV show that was on, in the story, Mr. Camera, which was a whole story focused on him, which is interesting, but he's still not that dangerous of a villain. Like I said, he's just wacky, and just the costume's cool looking. Well, not cool, he wears an interesting costume. And the story is called Captured by Mr. Camera. And in this story, Huntress calls Batman and is like, look, I need your help with something. And they both get to this rooftop of this, I think it was like a movie museum or like some type of studio, where she tells him about Mr. Camera, and Batman's like, so why do you need my help with this? This guy's kind of like a B-list, like, I can handle him without any of my gadgets, pretty much. And while on top of this building, they get flashed by, like, this big thing of light that blinds Huntress. And this reveals to be Mr. Camera, whose headpiece can now blind people. So Huntress tries to jump and kick him, but she phases right through him because it's revealed to be a hologram. After phasing through the hologram, Batman comes to the conclusion that he's probably at the other studio that's similar to this one. They do find Mr. Camera there, and he drops a camera on them, which causes a commotion and blinds them and allows him to get away once again. Batman once again asks Huntress, I still don't understand why you asked me to help with this guy. Huntress like, you really don't understand why? And Batman's like, nope. And Batman thinks this is all Huntress's feelings getting in the way of everything. So Huntress and Batman head to this premiere studio, which is another place Batman deduces he'll be, where he finds a bomb. And Huntress, out of anger, shoots at Mr. Camera, misses, and hits the bomb, causing the building to explode. Batman then says that Huntress's feelings are getting in the way of the job, so Huntress is sent home and decides to get back into her normal clothes, while Batman goes to a suspect's house who he believes is Mr. Camera. And this guy who he believes is Mr. Camera, he believes this because the broadcast that he had left a footprint. And this house belongs to this guy named Harry Sims, and Batman, he opens a secret compartment to the house to reveal this room with all these different pictures of Huntress and Helena Bertinelli, and Batman's like, oh crap, this guy's a stalker. And while Huntress is at home, Mr. Camera flashes his light and blinds Huntress and pretty much kidnaps her. Which, this version of Mr. Camera is surprisingly kind of creepy for the version they're going for in a kid's show. But anyway, Batman rushes to save her, and Mr. Camera hypnotizes Huntress into, well, being his bride. And Batman races against the clock to get there. And Mr. Camera explains how he's been infatuated with Huntress and is in love with her. However, before Huntress can say anything, Batman comes crashing through the window, and he, gets into a fight with Mr. Camera, which is a very quick fight. He punches Mr. Camera, and when he punches him, he ends up breaking the flash and the helmet piece, which, when Mr. Camera tries to flash his light to hypnotize Batman, it ends up breaking and causing, almost like, I guess you could say, to malfunction, and he just gets shocked or whatever, and he starts seeing all the different cameras and stuff across the city. All of this is flashing through his mind as this device is broken. He's then locked up and taken to, I guess you could say, Arkham Asylum, while Batman and Huntress talk over, the whole case they just, went with. And at the very end of the story, it's kind of interesting because you have Mr. Camera sitting in his cell, and he's like, I spy with my eye a man with the last name Wayne. So I'm guessing one of the cameras, he saw Bruce Wayne on it, and somehow connects it to Batman. I don't know, but the fact that this guy can figure out who Batman is, I find that a little suspicious. In the Batman Brave and the Bold episode of Bat Divided, Mr. Camera appears alongside Calendar Man, the One-Eyed, Ten-Eyed Man, Planet Master, Cavalier, Eraser, Twister, Clue Master, King Cobra, Killer Moth, Calendar Man, and a whole bunch of other D-list villains that pop up and try to fight Batman in this episode. He also appears in the Brave and the Bold episode Joker the Vile and Villainous, and he has a very short scene where when Joker walks into this bar, he takes a picture of Joker, while the other villains stop what they're doing, kind of shocked that Joker is in their presence, because they're loser villains, and they know it. In the comic book series Batman 66, Mr. Camera would make his next appearance in that series, which makes sense because Batman 66 was a very campy TV show. And as much as some Batman fans may hate it, we wouldn't have had, the dark Batman we have nowadays without this show saving Batman. So in this story, all the villains are at a criminal convention, and who else is there? Well, Mr. Camera, of course. And as Batman's caught wind of this convention, Mr. Camera's security cameras picked up Batman coming in. So you have all the villains versus Batman, and it creates that very famous intro to the Batman 66 TV show where the theme song plays, and you have Batman and Robin just beating up all the different villains. And it's real cool how they kind of recreated this whole entire scene, but in comic book form. Like, it's a shot-for-shot remake. It's amazing. And like I said, I'm not a huge Batman 66 fan, but I do appreciate what it did for Batman and how it saved the comics, and how without it we would have never had Dark Knight Returns, Batman Year One, and all that. After that comic, he would then appear in Batman Brave and the Bold ScoobyDoo team-up. And yes, we're going this far because that's how obscure he is. Now, don't get mad at me, Scooby-Doo can be cool, read the Scooby-Doo Apocalypse. But anyway, in this movie, the gang gets invited to the Mystery and Analyst of Gotham, which is like the secret club made up of Question, Martian Manhunter, Detective Chimp, and all this. And this movie involves them investigating a old case that Batman dealt with when in his very first year. And it was on this mission where Batman tried to stop Dr. Milo, who is the guy I mentioned in Polka Dot Man, who messed up Human Flame, who opened this portal. And these guys working for Dr. Milo, they start getting sucked into the portal. And Batman, he tries to save them because, well, why not? I mean, they didn't kill anybody yet. If they were Joker, you just let them in there. But Batman tries to save them, but he can't hold on because one of them's coat comes ripping off and they get sucked into the portal. So he's only able to save one of them. And what we learn is this event, it pretty much haunts Batman, and it still does to this day. So the main focus of the movie is there's this new character, or new villain called the Crimson Cloak, who shows up and frames the gang and Batman for a breakout of Arkham. After on the run, they come crashing through the villain bar, and they're, Batman's with the Scooby-Doo gang and all them, and they crash through the bar and interrupt Joker and Penguin, who are trying to have a good old time. Well, they're at a D-list bar, so Joker's like, yeah, this ain't gonna stand, and he gets all the other D-list villains there, and they all decide, we're gonna get Batman, and we're gonna get him for always messing with us. So Joker clicks his keys, and all of a sudden, you already know what's fixing to happen. You're about to see the Joker mobile. So a chase ensues, with the ScoobyDoo gang on the run, and Joker and, of course, his great old Joker mobile. And Penguin's in some type of van, which I don't know why. He probably should be in a duck. And Joker just kind of stacked his car full of D-list villains as well. And so is Penguin. In the chase, it goes on for a good while, and it involves, shooting missiles and traps. And Penguin ends up getting in front of the van at one point and throws explosive ducks at them, which Batman then has to dodge. And after dodging them, a couple hit Joker's car, and Joker, he's like, we need to get rid of this guy quicker. So he clicks a button and shoots out all the villains out of the car, and they land on the Mystery Machine. However, Mr. Cameron can't catch his footing. He falls off, and he hits the trash can. Mr. Cameron would then face Batman and Robin one more time in a Scooby-Doo team-up at the beginning of the story. It's like just a very small role. He's being chased by Batman and Robin. He blinds Batman and Robin. And then Fred from the Scooby-Doo gang unmasks him, and they arrest Mr. Cameron. Yeah, this dude does not catch any breaks. His most latest appearance was in the DC comic book Year of the Villain, in which they had an award show for all the different villains. And he ended up trapping Flamingo after Flamingo tried to infiltrate the show. Anyway, but yeah, that's all we have on Mr. Cameron. However, I will say this. Mr. Cameron, he could be a threat if you changed him up a bit. The way I'd make Mr. Cameron cool is I wouldn't exactly keep the same camera headpiece, and I'd probably get rid of the cape, but I'd probably keep the tuxedo he has, and I'd make him into like a serial killer who Gotham would be dealing with like these serial killings, and one of them would be like at every scene of the crime there'd be a dead body, but also a photo on the wall of that person right before they're killed and then right after they're killed. So be a very sick it kind of reminds me of that, in the Evil Within, that game, there was like that one dude who used a camera. Yeah, something like that I feel like would be cool if they incorporated that into his character in Batman. And then you could actually make the character interesting and a lot more darker and more of a threat to take serious. But yeah, if you did enjoy the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one.